Thank you, guys. Can everybody please have a seat? Jim? Okay, we're going to continue with our agenda. Right now, we're going to have a moment of silent meditation. If everybody could just please stand.
Since our last meeting, 2 members of the Dighton community have since passed. Our thoughts and condolences go out to their families. Wilfredo Ferry Adriano, age 83, passed away on Wednesday, March 6th. He is survived by his wife, Marites. Also passing, Horace Carpenter, 81, of North Dighton, passed away on March 3rd. He is survived by his wife, Sharon, and he was a graduate of the first class at Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School in 1961. Thank you.
Okay, number 5 under scheduled appointments is the, unfortunately we're very late and I apologize for that, is the poll hearing petition. Install 1 jointly owned pole on Chestnut Street to the west, to install 1 new JO pole 50 feet to the west of P30-50 on Chestnut Street. Existing P30-50 to be renumbered as P31. Do we have anybody here from National Grid?
I believe we were supposed to, but we do have Superintendent Ferry here.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions.
I have no questions.
No, I don't have any questions.
Mr. Hull?
The only question I have is, Mr. Ferry, you're recommending that we approve this?
Yes. Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the installation of 1 jointly owned pole on Chestnut Street. A new JO pole 50 to the west of P30-50 Chestnut Street, renumbered as pole 31.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Bristol Plymouth High School students, certificates of recognition. Recognition for the work performed at the Dighton Public Library Building Project. First, before we start, I want to thank 2 gentlemen in the audience here this evening who, without their efforts, we would nowhere be where we are with the library, if at all. And I want to thank Ron O'Connor and Ken Pacheco. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it. Dighton stands with all of you in full gratitude and appreciation. We would like to express our deepest thanks for the incredible support and assistance you are providing in helping to build our new library. You guys do tremendous work. It is through your selfless contributions of time, resources, and expertise that we are able to bring this dream to life. You have made a significant impact on our community members, especially our children. Your efforts are immeasurable. We are truly humbled by the generosity and commitment by each of you and each and every one of you. Once again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your contributions. Your support has transformed the vision into reality, and we are forever grateful for your kindness and generosity, giving of your talents. So at this point, we're going to read the children's names and give them a certificate of recognition. So we're going to come down there and call each student out by name. Mr. Hull, you have the list?
Yes, I do. Certainly. I believe the following students are from the electrical shop. Good, 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 good. And again, we want to thank you for all that you've done. You've really been a great ambassador for Bristol Plymouth, which is a very fine school. At this time, I would like to acknowledge and thank Harrison Anslow, Noah Arsenault, Isaac Bazula, Sophia Cabral, Hannah Cabrera, Chase Calvano, Zamara Carrero, Liliana Christensen, Cameron Curtis, Kendra Easterday, Brady Fournier, Malcolm Giovanelli, Zachary Janess, Jax Olson, Samantha Pacheco, Kayla Rium, Jackson Ruprecht, Jayden Santiago, Jaylee Silva, Mason Sylvia, Logan Westgate, Cameron Wilbur, and Talon York. Again, thank you. Yes. Well, I haven't got. Next, carpentry shop. Carl Avila. Liana Braga. Matthew Cabral. Jeffrey Crandall. Cameron Cruz. Justin DeAngelis. Ismail Echeverria. Jason Francis. Ariana Levesque. Owen Leiden. Saul Martinez Diaz. Matthew Pavo. Nisa Rodriguez. and Evan Waugh. Students, thank you. Teachers, thank you for all that you've done to help them succeed and excel. We appreciate it, and it's helped us greatly. There is one other individual, though, that needs to be thanked, who helped to coordinate and make this happen. Oh, I'm sorry. There's additional names. I'm sorry. Also, in carpentry, Ava Conrad, Dylan DeCastro, Ryan Donovan, Justin Durrett, Brian Foster, Connor Layden, Richard Oakley's, Jake Sanford, and Jack Vesperi. As I started to say, there's an individual here who goes about the business quite quietly in helping to coordinate projects for the town of Dayton. He's a member of the Bristol-Plymouth School Committee and a longtime servant of the town of Dayton as a police officer. Ed Dutra, thank you for all that you've done. Your help has saved the town of Dayton a tremendous amount of money, and has also showcased what Bristol-Plymouth can do. Thank you.
Maybe we should move this way so we're not moving.
Okay.
This is Acting Police Chief George Nichols. I'm sorry. A review, discuss, and act appointment of George Nichols as Chief of Police for the town of Dayton. Any discussion, guys? Somebody like to say anything? Mr. Nichols, are you here? How are you, sir? Much for 8 months ago when we knocked on your door and asked you to do just about the impossible. We appreciate that you stepped up. It means a lot to the town, it means a lot to the Board of Selectmen, and I know it means a lot to Mike from the, geez, I'm drawing a blank, from Town Administrator, sorry. And again, we appreciate what you did. It's been quite the process to get you here, as you're well aware, and we are all proud of the fact that you are here and are thankful for stepping up. Great. I don't know if anybody has any questions this evening, questions of you, if either one of you. I just want to ask one question. Why do you want to do this?
Been my home for 20 years, and proud to be here, and I just want to be the next leader of the department and move it forward.
Thank you. So I would like a motion on the floor to appoint George as Chief of Police for the town of Dayton.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint George Nichols as Chief of Police for the town of Dayton.
And vote for approval?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Cameron is an aye. Thank you, George. George is now in the thick of things. His first job is to help us with his budget, which is not an easy task. The next on the agenda is Tom Ferry, Highway Superintendent, and Darlene Arujo. Lions Club sponsors signs at Warner Boulevard and Broad Cove.
Good evening.
I'm here with the Dayton Lions, not the superintendent. So, on behalf of the Dayton Lions Club, we're proposing to build 2 new entering Dayton signs with planters below. Our thought process is to help small businesses in our town advertise locally. The second would be to beautify the entrance of the town, and finally, a small income for the Dayton Lions Club monthly. The charge for the monthly advertisements would be $250 a month for all 4 signs. An example is included in your packet here. It's very, very similar, like when you go over to Berkeley Bridge, you see that type of sign, welcome. The first guidance sign would be as you enter Dayton on Route 138 from Somerset in that large turnaround area right at the town line. And the second sign would be right at the end of Warner Boulevard, and that little island there that's surrounded with that curbing there. We take out that asphalt, make it more of a green space.
Okay.
Afterwards.
It's very shallow.
So we believe this will benefit the town of Dayton, businesses in that town, and the Dayton Lions Club, also beautifying sections of the town of Dayton. Please consider this as our request.
Darlene, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm just kind of thinking that we had started this before COVID.
Okay.
And kind of dropped the ball. And then this spring, when I advertised at the Berkeley Bridge sign, I thought, this is perfect for Dayton.
Sure.
And it will help the Lions Club. So I told them that I would maintain the signs. I would change them every month, as they do in Berkeley. And anybody who wants to sign up, it would be all small businesses or
Okay.
any business in Dayton.
Yeah, from Dayton?
From Dayton.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And we're going to need some kind of an agreement with the Lions Club. You can speak with Mike
Yes,
sometime this week. If
Mr. Mullins said to stop in here first and present it before we went
Okay,
any
great.
further.
Mr. Hull, do you have any questions?
Actually, just one question for Mr. Aguirre. Mr. Aguirre,
I knew it.
I just want to make sure that, I hope not. I just want for the record that the 2 signs are in total compliance with all zoning and town requirements and building requirements.
Yeah, I will work with both Tom and Darlene to make sure that those signs do meet the minimum requirements, both general and zoning bylaws. And if there is any other approvals that are needed, I'll make sure that they get those. But it needs to start with the selectmen.
Yep. Are you concerned about, oh, I'm sorry, Lenny, I thought you were done. No. Oh, okay. Are you concerned about any traffic issues at all? That maybe that should have gone to Tom, but he's from the Lions Club
Yeah,
tonight.
I would defer to Tom on that anyway, so
Okay.
if Tom's okay with their location, then I would be as well.
Sure. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nicole, do you have any questions?
Any questions? I really love this one that's over on the, near the Berkeley Bridge, and I think this is a great idea to get businesses out there. And I like how you asked about traffic, because it's going to be so impactful that we're going to have people like stopping and looking at it. So thank you. This was a great idea.
How much of it's going to cost?
We haven't got that far yet because
Okay.
we wanted to make sure we had the okay before we put any more time into.
Great.
But Tom's going to get 2 quotes, and then we have to present it financially to the Lions Club.
Great. Okay, well, thank you for your efforts. We appreciate
welcome.
that. It's
I
a great
thank you.
idea.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion this time to approve the Dayton Lions Club request for sponsored signs on Warner Boulevard and Broad Cove.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. We're going to go right into announcements, please.
The town park, can anyone hear me? Oh. The town parking ban, no person shall park a motor vehicle between the hours of 12 midnight to 6 a.m. on any street from November 1st of each year to April 1st of the following year. Please take notice. The Town of Dayton Food Bank will be held next March 16th, located at the Town Hall, 979 Somerset Ave. It's in the lower level. A notice of an opening on a waiting list. The Taunton Gardens is pleased to announce that they will be accepting applications for the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom affordable income wait lists. Applications will be available from February 20th to March 19th. To request an application by phone, please call 508-822-2501. Also, a notice of affordable housing lottery. This is at Norton Links in Norton, Mass. Applications must be delivered or postmarked by May 7th, 2024 at 2 p.m. For lottery information and applications, call 617-782-6900, extension 1. Help support the James Briggs Garden. The garden was established in 2021 and directly benefits the Dayton community. All produce is donated to the Lions Club Food Pantry in Lincoln Village residents. We'd love to have you join us, whether you're a seasoned gardener, enjoy being outside, or want to ensure the success of this community initiative. For more information, you can either email Kevin Smith, ksmith@dayton-mass.gov, or myself, nmello@dayton-mass.gov, and they are having a kickoff on the day of the Easter egg hunt, which I believe is March 23rd at 12 p.m.
Great, thank you. Administrators report?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'll be really brief. I just wanted to actually provide an update, on our annual audit. As I reported to the board earlier this year, our financial team went through our field audit process, actually the first full week of the calendar year this year, where we had our auditors in. We had to produce and follow up with different information requests that the auditors had for us. Also based on our ARPA, in the ARPA spending that we've done over the last year and a half, 2 years as well. We had to go through a process what is actually required by the federal government called a single audit. And I'm very pleased to say that this week we received in draft form the audited financial statements. We received our FY23 management letter. And we also received the results of our single audit, which will come before the board at the next meeting. And I just want to highlight that we received our cleanest management letter in the 3 years that I've been here. We have substantially cleaned up a lot of the comments that we had in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And it's been really a labor of love in terms of our whole financial team, the treasurer collector, in his office, the town accountant, in her office, town clerk's office, the assessors, the police department as well. And like I'm very, very, very proud of the fact that we do have such a clean management letter that we do. Like also going through a single audit is also much more grueling than our typical audit process as well. And I'm very happy to report, that our auditors, when they went back through the books, on how we procured and purchased the new library building, how we have invested in our public safety telecommunications. We have done that in line with, we have done all that in line with procurement requirements, and we have met all the rules and regs that the federal government does have through the ARPA program. So that is something that we work that takes up a lot of effort all the time to make sure what we're doing behind the scenes is all in compliance. Like a lot of people in town really don't see that effort on a day-to-day. And I just wanted to highlight that because it speaks to the financial team that we have, in the financial credibility that we have as well. So I just wanted to thank you and share that with everybody tonight.
Mike, I know it was a lot of work, and to get a clean report from them means a lot. Thank you. Moving on to Selectmen's reports. Unfortunately, myself go first, and the Solid Waste Committee has not met. We won't meet until the end of the month. The other group that we have is the Historical Committee, which they met last night. I was not there, but I'm going to make a motion that, not a motion, but suggestion that we no longer have a liaison for the Historical Committee. They are well run, they're well organized, and they have a full staff, and they really don't need a selectman to assist them. They come here often enough to give us an update, so I'm going to suggest that we no longer meet with the Historical Committee.
I think one Karen's enough.
One is enough, definitely. It's more than enough. Nicole, do you have anything?
Yes, I do, and I apologize. I have it on my phone, and apparently my eyesight's not that good anymore. So a couple weeks ago, we did have a power outage, and I meant to mention this at our last meeting just to thank everyone for the work that they did to get that back up, because it was election day, and it was, I mean, there's never a good time to lose power, but that was definitely not a great time, and everyone got together and they got that figured out, so thank you so much for that. The Commission on Disability met last week. We had a new portion of our meeting where we have members of the meeting give a report, which ended up being extremely helpful. A member mentioned that they really like at the Redemption Center in town, who they hire and what population they hire, and they wanted to know how we could get more businesses in Dayton to go along the same lines. So we do have a guest speaker coming to our next meeting from Cooperative Productions, and she's going to speak to us about hiring and how we can help Dayton businesses hire a more diverse workforce. The Library Building Committee met this week, and we looked over the items we need and would like to have for the building. They did a great job, Mark did a great job of putting all the items on a line list, showing us what they already had, as well as things that he's from his old job he's going to be able to obtain and bring in, and also looking into how we can build the shelving, potentially using the schools. So I thought that was really great. And also the Friends of the Library are going to be covering the cost for the interactive, what do they call them?
Whiteboards?
The interactive boards. I don't know what they are. I've never seen them, but they're going to be covering that cost.
Interactive smart boards.
Oh, interactive smart boards, okay. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Hull?
Last evening, at the Dayton-Rehoboth Regional School Committee meeting, in addition to the budget hearing, they set the date for the Dayton-Rehoboth graduation for June 7th it's a Friday evening at 6 p.m. In addition, the school committee voted, as we heard earlier this evening, approved the lease to South Coast Educational Collaborative of 5 classrooms at the high school and 3 at Beckwith Middle School in Rehoboth for a total of $200,000, which is a big help in these tight budget times. Also, the school committee voted to place on the warrant, or to submit for approval, a request that be approved by the town voters at the June meeting, a $45,000 phone E91 upgrades so that both the elementary and middle school E911 system are up to present-day code and standards. And in addition, there was a significant contribution made to the Dayton Rehoboth Regional High School athletic program by Cage Club Lacrosse Boosters Club of $9,000. Tomorrow is Pi Day. You know the mathematical number 3.14? Well, Assistant Superintendent Fred Souza was able to convince Table Talk Pies of Fall River to donate small pies to the students of Dayton Elementary School and the Palmer River School as part of the celebration of Pi Day, which will probably take place in the math classrooms tomorrow. In regards to the water district, couple points of note. 2 outstanding longtime employees of the Dayton Water District will be retiring on March 15th. Greg Olson and Melissa Rose, each served in their capacities for over 12 years. I've had some dealings with Mr. Olson as selectman and also personal note, and he's going to be a huge loss. He knows where the pipes are, what type of pipes they are, and where things are located underground. So we want to reach out and thank both Greg and Melissa for their dedicated service to the people of Dayton. Also, the Dayton Water District voted to approve the hiring of Jason Soares as the new treatment plant manager. And lastly, the Water District wanted me to let people know that they have an election coming up on May 20th. And the deadline for applications is April 15th. If anyone is interested in running for a Dayton Water District Board of Commissioners position, they should submit in at the Water District office on Williams Street a letter of intent by April 15th. The election will be May 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hull. The next exciting part of the evening is old business, the FY 2025 budget update.
Yes, and just really quick. I think we spent a lot of our time going through generally the particulars of where we are in planning for FY 25. We do begin our joint meetings with the FinCom. We do begin those meetings next Thursday evening, March 21st. Those will also continue in to the Tuesday and Thursday of the following week. Over those 3 meetings, we expect to meet with most, if not all, departments to get a better sense of their budget requests, what has been recommended, and how we go forward from there in balancing. It is, as we have talked about, our planning for FY25 is like is probably the most challenging year we have faced in like a long while here. However, you know, like we, in terms of what we're already doing to continue, to continue planning and addressing the challenges we have, we're working on it almost every minute of every day. You know, just like the school superintendent mentioned, it's been dominating our time and efforts, and even anxieties at 2 and 3 in the morning as well. So, like it's budget all day, all the time. It seems lately, but based on where we are, I do expect the budget process, really in earnest. We had, I think, a smoother, more predictable process planning for FY25, but planning for FY24, but this year, just based on the challenges that we know we're going to face going into FY25, and how those very same challenges and more will continue into FY26. I do expect, really a pretty busy rest of the budget process that will continue through the month of April. And hopefully we have an ability to wrap everything up, with a very strong, balanced budget that we have. Actually, the board has at that time to place a recommendation along with the FinCom recommendation that will take us to our June 10th, 2024 annual town meeting. So, as I mentioned, we do have our work cut out for us. We're already meeting. Meeting with different departments to evaluate the options that we have, and beginning next Thursday evening, we will turn that whole process into a very public process that will continue throughout the rest of the FY25 planning process. So, any questions on that at all?
We are meeting with FinCom at the same time.
Yes.
Okay.
Next Thursday night.
And in speaking with the superintendent, I kind of mentioned about kicking the can down the road just to help us meet for this year, meet the numbers for this year, which is obviously was wrong. And it is more important that we plan for the future, not just for this coming year. With that said, the BP assessment for this year is what?
The BP capital assessment, that is over and above enrollment. We actually, going into FY25, based on the October 1st enrollment submitted to DESE, the town of Dayton actually has 3 less students attending BP this year. So actually, based on BP's updated debt schedule, which, as I mentioned earlier, will begin ramping up in FY26 rather than FY25. The drop in enrollment that we have that's helping to shape the FY25 budget process is actually bringing that capital debt assessment down from $254,000 in FY24 to, I want to say, around $217,000. Actually, in FY25, because we, in FY24, based on last year's enrollment, we have a budgeted capital assessment amount of $254,000. How based on what is required based on the debt schedule, that capital debt assessment, based on the drop by 3 in enrollment, planning for FY25 will be $217,000.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, nobody had any questions, correct, for Mr. Hall? I know we talk about it all the time. Mr. Mello, you don't have any questions. The next one I'm going to recluse myself from because I'm actually on that street fairly close to the land that they want to donate. So, Nicole, if you could take over for me, please.
So we're going to review, discuss, act, a letter, donation of 1 parcel of land by Louis,
El Salini.
So what is it?
Salini.
This is why I didn't read all the names for BP. 10.7 acres located off Maple Swamp Road, map 6, lot 11. And
we do have in the past expected correspondence from the Conservation Commission. They recently voted to accept the parcel and to recommend the same to the Board of Selectmen. We do have the conservation agent along with the chairman of the Conservation Commission here, so Chairman Digits and Agent Caledonia. If you have an ability to come up and give an overview of the of the parcel, what went into the Commission's recommendation.
This parcel of land is being donated to the Commission and the town by Louis Salhaney, who is the estate manager for his uncle George and Stella Salhaney. Okay, it's 10.7 acres. It's behind DR between New Street, Rehoboth, and Maple Swamp Road. It's approximately 10.7 acres, and it abuts current conservation land. This land is a combination of both wetlands and uplands, and certainly would be very satisfactory for the continuation of wildlife of all kinds in this area. The Commission voted to accept this land pending Selectmen approval.
Thank you. Did you have anything to add, Lisa? No.
Just to say thank you to Louis Silvaney for the gift of land. As we know, we don't make any more, so it's very, we're very fortunate to receive a donation.
Great. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Right.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, at this time, I would like to make a motion to accept the donation of one parcel of land by Louis L. Salhaney, 10.7 acres located off of Maple Swamp Road, map 6, lot 11.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? And then a vote?
Aye.
And then I'm an aye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Review, discuss, and act Public Health Excellent Grant. Intermunicipal agreement between Northern Bristol Public Health Alliance communities.
Yes. Oh yeah, like how jump off with it, like oh yeah, like this the IMA, the proposed IMA between what I call the Northern Bristol Public Health Alliance communities. This whole initiative actually kicked off about over 2.5 years ago now, between the town of Dayton, the city of Taunton, the town of Berkeley, the town of
North Attleboro.
North Attleboro, the city of Attleboro as well, like in the town, and like in the town of Rehoboth, like we applied for what is called a Public Health Excellence Grant to help us really meet the needs of the Board of Health that we, in really every community in the state, don't have like really the funding ability and a specialized ability to really do that. And that need was actually called out. That need was called out by the state, like in what was actually called the Blueprint for Public Health. That was actually published and released in 2018 and 2019. This is one area. This is one area. This is one area of state government that, in my experience, they had a report, they had a recommendation, like, and thankfully they have actually put the funding resources where their mouth is. And so, through the grant that we worked to apply for, 2.5 years ago, that grant has led to additional resources that are made available to the town of Dayton and the Board of Health through the Northern Bristol Public Health Alliance. Like Nikki, as a public health nurse, has really been leading those efforts for the Board of Health. Essentially, really over the last 2.5 years. Like the IMA has been like a long time in the making. Like it also has been reviewed by Town Council. Like it's also been approved and recommended for approval by the Board of Health as well.
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
So as you had mentioned that I had been overseeing it for the last 2.5 years, I've been lucky enough that I now have Jim is helping, as well as the health agent, Heather, has started to jump on the calls, which has been great because it has been a big initiative. It's paid for a number of trainings for myself as the public health nurse, as well as for Heather as the health agent. Right now we're in the process of going to scan items, so the older items that we have, we're going to put them into a digital format, and that's just a really great thing for the department. It also is going to help with any staffing shortfalls that we have or any of these communities have, so that we have a pool to pick from if we don't have the staff that we need. So it has been helpful, and it was looked over by council a couple months ago. So now we're just bringing it back after all the other towns had their councils look at it and now get the final say on it.
Okay. Mr. Hull, yes.
How much money has this generated for the town of Dayton on the Board of Health? Have you been able to put a dollar value on?
We don't have that information here, but I can follow up. But,
I'd be curious. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a significant grant and a significant help for the town of Dayton. But to put a dollar value on it, I'd be really curious. You know, we talk about services being provided, and it is a savings to the taxpayer. And those are services that a town that's cash-strapped right now is able to provide to its citizens, but the money is not coming from the taxpayers. That is significant. And I'd like the taxpayers to know how the efforts of people like Ms. Mello, Mr. Mullen, and the Board of Health, how they've contributed to the savings to the taxpayer. So if you could get that number, be appreciated. Thank you.
Great. Sure. Okay. So review, discuss, and act. Any discussion at all? No? Okay. Is there a motion on the floor to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Public Health Excellence Grant intermunicipal agreement between Northern Bristol Public Health Alliance communities, including the town of Dayton.
Okay. I want to step down and second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you. Review, discuss, and act. Contract between the town of Dayton and the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development Housing Production Plan.
Yes, as the board and the public may remember, at the end of the last calendar year, the town was awarded a $40,000 community compact grant to update our housing production plan. We since the housing production plan as a town, since the housing production plan requirement was created and established actually back in 2008, we've always had like an updated housing production plan, and every 5 years we've always worked to go through that process. And so based on the town being awarded that $40,000 grant from the state back in the fall, and at the end of last calendar year, we did submit that grant application together with Serped, with the intent of working with Serped as our consultant, as they did, and as they do with other efforts. And what is proposed is just a contract for that effort to really kick off in the coming months.
Mrs. Miller, any questions?
No.
Mr. Hull?
Yes, actually two. One, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mullen, but Southeast Regional Plan and Economic Development District and their support of the town of Dayton is one of a consultant and not as a policy making or a policy enforcing board.
Yes, yes. So it's important. It is critically important. It's critically important that we remain and especially our boards remain the policy deciders here. And they just, very similar to what the feedback they had and received in the economic development plan. Just as an example, we were, like as a town, and through our boards and committees, through the Board of Selectmen, and also through the DDIC, the Dayton Development and Industrial Commission, those groups were the policy drivers here.
And the second question is, correct me if I'm wrong, but a grant is paying the $40,000?
Yes, and the whole $40,000, yes,
so
sir.
So the taxpayer is not being, town of Dayton are not being impacted by this, is that correct?
That's 100% accurate.
Thank you. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract.
Yes, sir.
Recently we've had some discussion with Serpent, and what they're pushing on our community.
Can we just ask, sorry to speak in the mic. Thank you.
Recently, what Serpent has been proposing to our community is not what the residents and the taxpayers want. What they're really proposing is cluster housing, conservation subdivisions. It's not good for the town. You don't want these houses on top of one another. We got a lot of stormwater regulations regarding that. It's not what the people of the town of Dayton want. They presented to you, they presented to us, they presented to the Open Space Committee. I've attended all of theirs. And what Serpent is pushing on us is coming from Beacon Hill. It is not what the town of Dayton wants. I understand the policies, but look at our subdivision regulations. They want to work all around those, okay? And they want to rezone part of the town. They want to get rid of our biggest industrial piece of land and make it spot zoning or whatever fits their criteria as little shops or restaurants on our most valuable piece of industrial land. So I'm not a big fan of Serpent. I understand that $40,000 is not going to cost the taxpayer anything, but what they're going to push on us is not what the town of Dayton needs. And I want that to be on the record. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hull, you had something on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract between the town of Dayton and the Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development Housing Production Plan.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Approval of the warrants, please.
Just a moment. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the town of Dayton pay the warrant of March 14th, 2024. Article 38A-24, $116,365.01. Article 38B-24, $278,592.77. Article 38C-24, $399.60.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. There are no acknowledgements, so we're going to move right on to the correspondence. And I don't have this in my packet. Does somebody else have it?
Yes, I do.
Can you just read that letterhead?
Yep.
Please.
To the Board of Selectmen, this is to notify you of my resignation from the Open Space Committee effective March 11, 2024. Unfortunately, I do not have the time available to devote to the committee with the thoroughness it deserves. Thank you, Dan Higgins.
This will ultimately disband that group because there will no longer be a quorum.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
There is an individual who, after April 6th, is very much willing to serve on that committee.
Okay.
I know him personally, and I will be submitting an application once my term on the Board of Selectmen ends. And I would ask that both Nicole and yourself wait to remove this position, or not remove this position. I see open space as very valuable in working with the other committees, Conservation, DDIC. I had the pleasure of attending, it was a long day, the House Ways and Means Committee meeting, and learned of two incredible things that other communities do with some of their open space land. And one of them would generate funds for the town. And I would, if given the privilege by the Board of Selectmen in my future endeavors, work to try to make that happen. Mr. Reynolds, our treasurer, is aware of uses for open space land that could generate some additional income.
Okay.
And I would like to work with him and the other members of the open space to create a plan that we will present. This town needs to generate some income, and there are a couple possibilities that would do that using open space.
Great.
Thank you.
We're just accepting his letter. We're not disbanding the group, but thank you for offering to put your application in. And that would give us back a quorum so the open space can continue. Is there any public input?
Well, we have to accept this letter first.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Just a second, Mr. Woods.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we accept with sincere appreciation and thanks the letter from Daniel Higgins and his resignation from the Open Space Committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen is an aye. Public input. Yes, sir, Mr. Woods.
Robert Woods, 158 Chase Street. This is the third time I've asked this question to the board. I'm curious if we're ever going to have a Prop 2.5 override vote or a debt exclusion to pay for Bristol Plymouth High School and the Aggie School. For some reason, we're dragging our feet. I've asked you guys, the last time I asked, I said, could you give me an answer at the next meeting? And that was a couple of months ago.
Sure.
So I'm asking again, could you report back to the people and myself?
Sure. Mr.
Because,
Malone.
that's a question that's on the street,
Oh, yeah.
right? That is going to be a big tax increase for everybody.
It will be.
So when are we going to do this? Mike Mullen knows the answer.
I do. Okay.
Okay.
Like as I mentioned earlier, we were planning, and we all began planning for FY25 in August of 2023. And we began planning for FY25 in August of 23 based on the fact that we understood at that time that the BP debt would begin ramping up in FY25. In the middle of October of 2023, we learned that whole process and the capital debt assessment wouldn't begin actually ramping up until FY26 at that point. We do, based on the projections that we've all talked about, that we all know, based on our ability to pay, and based on where we are in terms of year-to-year revenue increases that are very, we haven't had, as we know, any new growth. Our local receipts have been flat at best. And in terms of what we have been projecting, just as we talked about earlier, in FY25 at this point, we're just projecting once we net out all of our local receipt revenues, at this point we're projecting a net increase of $50,000 in local receipts in 1 year. So I do go back to actually at the end of February of 2022 before the BP election, the BP school project election. Myself and the former town accountant, we wanted to be very clear in terms of in terms of outlining the impacts and what if that question passed, and hypothetically at the time, even though the residents of Dayton could not vote for it, what that whole project and what absorbing that whole capital debt structure, which will ramp up to approximately $900,000, would mean on our operational budget. And so from the end of February 2022, like we were clear then that we didn't have an ability to absorb all that capital debt, especially when it fully ramps up, especially when it fully ramps up to the $900,000 without having an opportunity to propose and consider a debt exclusion. That is what I said and presented at the end of February 2022. Nothing in my professional opinion has changed since then.
I don't know how we could possibly pay for it without a debt exclusion. It's something I hate to bring up, but
Right.
I mean, you're talking $900,000. We can't cut that from the budget. There's just no room.
There's going to be a time where we need to make a vote.
Right.
Right,
Correct.
and it's going to be a time whether it's going to pass or it's going to fail.
Correct.
And the townspeople are going to either have to take it on the chin or bear with it.
Exactly.
But the time, people are curious because,
Yeah, sure.
We're in tough economic times now.
Yep.
And people are wondering, what bill am I going to pay?
Sure.
Our taxes are increasing, groceries are increasing, the cost of cars, if you want a new car today, forget about it, right? Everything has gone sky high. So, people are trying to plan for their future. Young people are trying to buy homes. People like myself are trying to retire. We want to know what's going on. Can I stay in Dayton or should I move? Okay, because a lot of people are considering that. With the tax base going up and up, there are a lot of communities that are a lot cheaper in taxes than the town of Dayton. Everybody
we hate
loves
to have
it
anybody
here.
move.
But, I'm asking you, the Board of Selectmen, I'm not asking the town administrator, we heard
Yeah.
his side.
Yep.
Reach out to a couple other communities and see how they handled it.
Yep.
Because I think the town of Dayton is the last town that has not voted on a 2.5 override or a debt exclusion. There may be one or two that I'm not quite sure of, but
Right.
most of the communities I know of have already voted on this.
Yes.
So they know where their future is,
Right.
okay?
If you're asking for a hard-cut decision tonight, obviously...
No, I don't
still-
want an answer tonight, but,
Yeah.
please, let's look into it and let the people know.
Okay.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that wants to be heard? Go ahead, sir.
I believe you folks all have copies of the material that I
Can
will
you
be
just talk a
covering
little
this.
bit louder, please?
I believe you all have copies of the material that I handed out earlier.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak about paint stewardship bill presently being considered by our legislature. My name is Tom Irwin, and I live at 54 Central Avenue in Dalton, Massachusetts, and I'm a retired chemical engineer and primary care physician. While I was a member of the Dalton Waste Management and Recycling Committee, we were facing the same daunting waste crisis that Dayton faces, rapidly increasing hauling costs and tipping fees, and looking for a solution. After a careful study of ways to address this issue, paint stewardship seemed like the perfect first step, and after confirming it was working well in the eyes of consumers and retailers in New York, Vermont, and Connecticut, I became an advocate for this law. Tonight, I'm respectfully requesting Dayton's board consider passing a resolution in support of paint stewardship.
We obviously can't pass it tonight. We'd have to put you on
Understood.
the agenda,
Yep.
which I'm sure you're well aware of.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
procedure.
Yep.
But you've given us this as the ability to read it, and we will. And I would suggest that you talk to Leanne at the town hall to get yourself on the agenda for, I wouldn't say the next meeting, but probably 4 weeks from now.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mrs. Goulart?
Nancy Goulart, 631 Gray Terrace. Just a comment on what the gentleman just said. For the 18 years I served at MMA, this has come repeatedly before our committee. Initially it was oil-based paint, and then it was water-based paint. And the committee has always acted favorably on doing something about this, and I have reported it every time it came up. So it didn't come up during the last meetings this last year I served, but it has been a hot topic and continues to be. So at last reading, MMA Policy Committee on Energy and the Environment did support this, so just in passing. On the committee, I just want to point out, this is very, very important, in addition to the reasons that have been cited here. When I brought back the idea of this town getting designation as a community compact cabinet town, we only had to have one project. But Selectmen Cronin, Zagrafis, and I all decided we were going to do individual projects. May have been the only community in the state that submitted 3, all that were approved, and the Open Space Committee was one of them. So this is very important that that committee continue. I'm not saying it would affect what we've already accomplished through community compact grants. All I'm saying is it was one of the 3. And we were recognized because we came up with 3. Mine was stormwater education. Selectmen Zagrafis was formation of the Agricultural Commission, which was unique in the state for one of the projects. And the other one was the Open Space Committee. So this is just information to keep in mind. So, Mr. Hull, I'm glad you're not retiring. A follow-up to what Mr. Wood said, and I certainly understand his concern. And this is only one item that they get involved with. But I just want to make a statement that having worked with Bill Napolitano at Serpide up until he retired, not on housing issues, on environmental issues, they were very active in helping us form the Municipal Vulnerability Plan and the Hazard Mitigation Plan. And up to his point of retirement, and with personnel changes in Somerset, we had a 3-town project that we thought we were going to be able to finish, which related to identifying hazards in our communities that we could work on together. So I just wanted to point out the value of other services that we get from Serpide. Relative to the debt exclusion, having served on the Finance Committee for so many years, there isn't a prayer for a 2.5 override in this town. We would never, ever accept one when I was on the FinCom, and I kind of doubt that they would do it now because it's a permanent tax increase. Our only option to fund both Aggie and BP are debt exclusions. No one's talking about Aggie. Aggie's been up and running, and it's a much smaller debt, so why hasn't that been brought forward for a debt exclusion? It was roughly $110 million. They got roughly 50%. So all of the communities in the county are on the hook for roughly $55 million, maybe a little less. This one should have been resolved years ago. I mean, it's built. I think they've just entered their first class that's going to be their first 4-year class. I don't hear about that kind of money. But when it was voted, I expected we were going to do a debt exclusion on that one right away. So we're talking debt exclusion. Why haven't we talked about Aggie? And why can't we put that, get it voted on, get it done? So we're just dealing with BP. So when you're getting your information for Mr. Woods, and other people in town. I think it's important because it doesn't get mentioned. We're only talking about the real big one. We have that debt to pay, and it's substantially less because it's shared by so many communities in the county. But it's an important one. So add that, I guess, to the list.
I would never support a 2.5. We can't do it. It's not fair to the town. And debt exclusion is probably the best way and only way to go at this point, because we could never absorb those cuts. I agree with you that maybe the both should be combined or and take the hit now. But like I said, I wouldn't go for 2.5.
The concern when BP passed was Aggie had already passed. I represented the town of Dayton when that vote was cast, because in the county, people don't vote for this. It's the county rep from each community with a weighted vote. My concern was if they come together, people should not think they can pick and choose. These are 2 mortgages we got to pay. But if there's any way we can get at least Aggie resolved, I realize it's not as much money, but you know, debt is debt, and even if the debt were authorized through debt exclusion now, we still have options relative to how we pay that. So it's not like you got to start writing the mortgage check. That's not the case. We all know with bonded indebtedness, it depends on when the actual bonding is done. So I think it's important, again, and I will add this request to Mr. Woods. Give us information on when we're going to act on Aggie, because it's that important.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. Anybody else that wants to be heard this evening? Okay. We're going to move on to minutes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen Department Head meeting minutes of February 7th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter Karen is an aye.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes of February 28th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. I know you're all having a good time, but we have to move into executive session. So unfortunately, we have to ask you guys to leave because we have some other stuff we have to continue with. Mr. George, can you stay here, please?
Yeah. Yeah, if there could be a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, yeah.
I would like to make a motion that we enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to discuss strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. A, the police chief contract negotiations.
Okay. All those in favor? I don't think there has to be a second. It's just you have to.
Do I have to aye? Aye.
Yes, yeah, roll call vote.
Yep.
Aye.
And Peter Karen is an aye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.